Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the 2U's of 2U's Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at 2usfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our 2U's Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Marsha.
So I'm laughing a little bit. How's your day going? We had some communication last night, so let's let everybody know what's going on.
Yes, big news at my house. So my husband was exposed to someone who has tested positive for COVID-19 at work. Mm-hmm. He went into work last night, and a coworker of his, I'll try to be as anonymous as possible, a coworker that works the shift that he works was not there last night because this coworker is in the ER. So there was a lot of texting back and forth between him and me, and then he was sent home. Mm-hmm. So he works at a water recycling plant, so he was able to shower and disinfect himself. I guess, I don't know. And he came home, and we stood in the upstairs about 20 feet apart wearing masks, talking about what we were going to do and how we were going to organize ourselves. And I moved into the spare room, and he's taking our bedroom. And then this morning we had coffee together on the lawn, again, about 20 feet apart. When we've been together in the house, we've both been wearing masks, and we're waiting to see what's going to happen. He's supposed to be getting contacted by HR to let him know what he does next. And, he's quarantining himself according to the CDC guidelines that we read online. But, what happens next? Does he have a test now and then wait 14 days and have a test again? How does that all work? I don't exactly know, and he doesn't either. So during our conversation, Marsha, you may hear, and listeners may hear my text messaging dinging, which will be a text from Robert telling me what he's supposed to do.
Well, this is super concerning, and I would just say we've had, over the course of the pandemic, we've had a lot of conversations about it, and you and Robert and Aunt Betty have been very, very careful about masks and cleaning and Robert's job too. It's not like he's on the front lines of medical or like a cashier, where you're meeting lots of people every day. His job is pretty much, not always, but he sees people at shift changes, but the bulk of his job is sort of on his own
and outside.
And he's being careful, but you can be exposed. Yeah.
Well, and just the fact that he's always worked with the threat of contamination by dangerous diseases. I mean,
right.
He gets hepatitis shots, and there's protocols at work for how they handle. He works with wastewater, and he's not at the inflow end of the wastewater treatment process so much anymore as he was when he was a liquid waste attendant. The very first
you're so delicate, Kelly.
Well, that's what it's called.
Oh, it is.
When he was first, at the end of the plant where the trucks come in that drain septic tanks and porta potties and all that. He's not at that part of the plant so much anymore as he was, but he's still, he works with wastewater. And so, there's lots of things in place to protect them. And so I think, and I sort of felt, not too concerned that he was going to work. Because of all that. I mean, he's much more cautious than most people about what he brings home from work and what he exposes himself to at work. So
yeah.
Anyway, it's been a little scary and annoying, and yeah. So luckily, I mean, really, really luckily, he's able to stay in, one part of the house or out in the yard doing yard work. And we have, multiple entrances. So we've been able to like put together a traffic flow plan. And Aunt Betty, she's working, takes care of an elderly woman. And so she's gone all day on Tuesdays. So this is the perfect day for it to happen because I have time to clean everything and then, kind of sequester our part of the house or her part of the house, because I'm actually trying to think of myself as, neither one of us have been tested yet. He's just been exposed. But if he is positive, it's very likely that now I have also been exposed and could be positive too.
Right.
Asymptomatic. And so.
Well, and I was going to say that, as I said, that you guys have been so careful. Part of the reason why you've been really careful is you live with Aunt Betty, and Aunt Betty cares for cares for this older woman isn't she in her 90s?
Yeah, 97.
Yeah, and so that's why part of the reason why you have been so extra careful is because of the I was going to say now sort of extended family, because you're all connected, So, yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. I'm
power of positive thinking. I'm going to keep good thoughts that both you guys are not positive, and that his coworker is okay too. Because it sounds like she's in the hospital, and I mean, clearly sick if she's been hospitalized. So.
Yeah. Well, when the whole thing started, I mean, I need to be careful how I say this, because I don't mean this in a cavalier way at all. It's very frightening to me, and it has been since the beginning of the epidemic, because I understand exponential growth.
Yes.
As a mathematician, I've said to my colleagues at work and other people, by the end of this, it is very likely that we will all know someone who died.
Yeah.
And that made me sound like a crazy person back in March, when we were all sent home from work. And it was all kind of starting. I felt like, what is it? Chicken Little, the sky is falling. I sort of felt like Chicken Little when I said this to people. I still believe it's very likely that we will all know someone who died of this. And that's a serious thing to think about.
Well, a woman in my knitting group passed away from it.
Oh my gosh.
Did I mention that? I can't remember. I didn't. So she was in my group. I didn't know her really well because she did have underlying health issues. So a lot of times couldn't come. And then, and also even with underlying health issues, she traveled a lot. So I had not seen her for probably a year. And I had been invited to join the group after they'd been established for a long time. Yeah. So I didn't know her very well. I would, but I knew her and enjoyed her company a lot, but she passed away in, I think it was in March, I believe. So, and now I know somebody who's been exposed, right? So yeah, closer and closer.
Yeah. This is not theoretical anymore.
Yeah.
And that, and to me, it didn't feel theoretical before. Let me say it this way. I didn't think it felt theoretical to me before. But I now, after last night, know that every moment prior to last night, it was purely theoretical to me. And now it's not. And that's it's an interesting transition.
And I would say this, even though you're 1,000 miles from my house, it feels like me because we're so close, right? I mean, I I feel connected.
Oh yeah.
Even though we're not physically close, emotionally and I'm close, so I feel affected too.
Yeah.
So,
and the other thing that is my own personality is like, I don't like to be afraid of things. And so I get mad. So I'm just like, I'm just super irritated. And like you said this morning while we were talking, I was telling Marsha about it. And she said to me, Kelly, you sound like you're actually irritated with Robert. And that is my coping mechanism, right? Instead of being worried, I'm just super annoyed.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Thinking of that, this is completely unrelated to people. Okay. But it's interesting about, getting irritated. So when somebody's in danger, like we're worried. And so, when we did get a chance to go down to the Washington coast, because they had gone to phase 2, and maybe I mentioned this in the last episode, I can't remember, but, we had both, dogs with us. So I had Enzo, my friend Kim went, she had her dog, Orkney, and Orkney had gone too far out into the surf. This happened the first time we were down there when he was only 12 weeks old. And Enzo had gone out and kind of brought him back.
I remember that.
This time, Orkney went out again, really far out into the surf, where he was actually in the water with the waves. And Enzo again went out and what really happened is Enzo started out to get him, but then the waves sort of scared Orkney, and he came back. Enzo went after him. He pinned him to the ground, and then Orkney would get up and he'd roll him and pin him to the ground. He was like barking, and he never made any contact. But you know how how they do. Yeah. And I said to Kim, I think he's reprimanding him for doing unsafe. Not unlike the time, when Ben ran into the street and I grabbed him and shook him and yelled at him. Right. Not hard, but because it was my fear. Yeah. And those times when you react and it seems like you're angry, but really what it is, you're so afraid. Yeah. And it was completely a visceral reaction when Ben did what he did. Mm-hmm. Just so everybody knows, I didn't shake him so hard. But and I think every parent has experienced that. And I think that's what Enzo with Orkney, he was like, hey, dude. Right. No, you don't do that. Mm-hmm. Because it went on a long time. He rolled him and then he went after him again. And Orkney got up and Orkney is so young. He still got that happy puppy thing, excitable. And then he rolled him again.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So that is one of the things we do, I think, is getting sort of angry. Yeah. Or perceived as angry when it's actually fear. Yeah.
Well, and right now I'm irritated with his HR for not contacting him.
Yes. Yet. Well, just go roll them and
That's right.
Roll them on their back and snarl at them.
Oh my gosh. Anyway. Yeah. Well, it's an interesting life.
Yes. Well, we will talk about projects, but I just have to, we were talking about this before we started recording, and I think I'm going to put this is kind of silly, but I think I'm going to put this in Ravelry as one of my projects as I'm working on my deck. And now that's not knitting or fiber, but I think I am going to put it in there so I can post with the progress. But we've demolished the deck. I have to point out we don't really know what we're doing. I mean, we have that thing, you have enough information, but just enough information to really get yourself into trouble, but not how to get yourself out of trouble. Mm-hmm. So I kind of had an epiphany on Tuesday. And so I spent pretty much all day Wednesday just watching YouTube videos about pouring concrete and footings and how to use saws, how to use a laser level. And I found there's a magazine that's been around forever called Fine Home Building. They also have a YouTube channel, has excellent videos on there about building anything that you want to build.
We'll have to put that in the show notes.
I'll put a link in there if anybody's at all interested, but it's very, very helpful. And so I just watched all of the videos related to decks. And so I'm feeling much more confident. And so then on the next day, my brother came and I sent him the link and he watched all the videos too. So then he came and we spent the whole day, standing out there, head scratching, thinking about what we're doing. We've laid out the lines where the beams are going to go. We went to the hardware store and got that landscape paint that they spray to mark property lines and whatnot. And we marked where all the footings are going to be poured, and really sort of had to go through our together, have that conversation. It was an all-day conversation about how we're going to build this, how we're tying it into the house. So it was really good. We had to kind of get organized in our heads. Mm-hmm. We made a list of all the tools we need, and I've got calls out to borrow all those tools. And then the other thing, I don't know if this is good or bad, but Ben, my son, has got a job for the summer, and he texted me, I guess 2 nights ago, that he was quitting. He can't take it anymore. And so he's quitting, and I sort of am relieved that he's quitting because of just our conversation we just had about COVID-19. Mm-hmm. I've had concerns about his exposure, even though they're taking his temperature and he's wearing a mask and hand sanitizer the whole bit and gloves and everything the whole bit. I still am really concerned about exposure. Mm-hmm. But the other thing, on just selfishly, I'm excited that he's going to come and help me build the deck. And he is very, Ben well, and he's very sort of methodical, and he's a thinker and calm. And I'm really glad that he's going to come and help us use all the power equipment and saws, because that also, I'm a little anxious about that. Yeah. I felt much better actually watching videos, and I am naturally cautious and careful, but I just, I want to be super cautious and careful around that equipment. Yeah. And so he's going to come.
He knows things about.
He knows things. Yeah. And he just knows things that I don't know. Yeah. And he also he's very aware of safety, given what his degree is in, and all of the training he had to use all of that equipment that he was using for his degree. So I'm excited that he's going to come and help. And then I've talked about Kelly, but Dave. Mm-hmm. And for our listeners, this is my friend from middle school he actually works at the Woodland Park Zoo, but he has 3 days off. And so those 3 days off, he's going to come and help too. Mostly he's going to be he's going to be like what's the word for somebody? Like the contractor or the quality control. Oh, he's the one who's going to be standing around telling us if we're doing it right or not doing it right.
The supervisor.
Supervisor. He's going to come and check on us. So he's not going to help with all of the
site supervisor.
The site supervisor, yeah, because he's not going to actually. He said he's not really able to help us time wise with all of the construction of it, but he can bring his expertise and so he's actually coming tomorrow to walk through it all with us. So it's just a deck, there's no electrical, there's no plumbing, but anyway, I don't want it to fall down. Okay. So enough of that. Should we talk about,
other projects?
Should we actually talk about like a real fiber project, the ways we're playing with string?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to talk about your project?
Sure. So today I am knitting on the Mary Ann's cardigan, which is actually not a cardigan in the way that I'm making it. I feel like I've been working on this for a year. I didn't actually start it last July when I went up to Seattle, but I was thinking about it last summer. I had the yarn out and I was thinking about it. I knew I was going to make it. It's a pattern that combines crochet and knitting. So I've been talking about this for a while, but we have a lot of new listeners. So I should probably make sure that I talk about things. So it's a crochet yoke. I decided not to make it as a cardigan, to make it as a tee. So I have the crochet part is split in the back because I'd like to put like a pearl button at the top. That's kind of my idea. So I did the crochet flat, and then I picked up to knit down, and I've got the sleeve to the sleeves, and I've got once I separated for the sleeves, I now have probably 8 inches, I think, of the body done. I had to rip back and start over with the body because alternating skeins wasn't working well. The yarn is very tonal. The blue is very tonal. And so I have quite a bit of striping going on, a little bit of pooling, even though I'm alternating skeins. It's kind of a denim-y, purpley denim-y blue color. And then the yoke is green and purple and blue crochet. And then the sleeves are going to have crochet detail. And I think I'm going to put the crochet detail also at the bottom of the sweater, even though that's not the way the pattern calls for it. I can't remember when I started this project, but I've been working on it for a long time. I'm kind of forcing myself at this point, I'm kind of forcing myself to work on it just so I can make progress.
Seems like we've talked about it for a really long time.
Yeah, I want to say...
We've had a lot of discussions about this project.
Yeah, I want to say I started it sometime in the fall, maybe September, which that's a long time to be working on a t-shirt.
But you've had to knit it several times. So
yeah, and I think I kind of lost momentum on it during the winter because I knew I wasn't going to be able to wear it.
Right.
But then when spring came, I had some decisions I had to make that I put off. So it's one of those projects that when I get it done, it will be fine and I'll like it. But right now I'm kind of, if I were the kind of person that just put a project away for years, I think this would be one of those projects. I've done that with only very, very few things that I've put them away for a super long time. But this one I'm tempted. The pattern is really pretty and it's really well written. It's not that I'm having any trouble that way. Right now it's just stockinette in the round. What is not to like about stockinette in the round with a purl stitch under each arm, it's not that difficult. But anyway, so that one is what I'm working on today. I also started a project.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah. Last week when I talked about the paving, or last episode when I talked about the paving mitts, I was thinking I had such a lot of yarn left over of the twist fiber. I want to say it's twist fiber arts, kind of a rainbowy color, that I was thinking I would make another pair of mitts. And then I thought, I'll make Robert a pair of socks. Maybe he likes kind of bright stuff. So I'll make Robert a pair of socks. And because I had finished, I don't think I was quite finished with them, the tomato and mink socks, the hand spun socks that I was working on last time. I don't think I was quite finished with them, but almost. So when I finished those, I wanted another pair of socks on the needles. I thought, I'll make a pair for Robert. But I thought he was going to choose a different yarn. So I gave him some choices, thinking that I would still have this rainbow one. He wouldn't select it, and I would have it to make more mitts. But he selected this rainbow that I use for the paving mitts. So I'm using that same yarn. I'm using the blue for cuff and heels and toes. And I've got one sock down to the foot, mid-foot. And so then I decided to start on the other sock because I want to make sure I don't run out of yarn. If I am looking like I'm going to run out of yarn, I'm going to make a blue stripe in the midfoot. So there's cuff, heels, a midfoot stripe, and a toe. He's like, well, just start the toe sooner. I mean, just, do the end of the foot, the whole end of the foot in the blue. I'm like, no, I want it to look a little more intentional than that. So I think I'm going to have enough yarn, but I'm on the second sock now. I'm going to work it down to the midfoot, and then I'll weigh my yarn and see.
Yes, I'm looking at the picture here on Ravelry. Those are pretty.
Yeah, the yarn is really nice.
Can you call men's socks pretty?
You can.
Sure, why not?
Yeah,
sure, why not? Yeah. No, I love that. I like that yarn.
It was a prize that I won. I think it was a prize from the Mother Bear. I want to say it was a prize from the Mother Bear Knit Along. I don't have the yarn listed.
Oh, here, I'm looking.
But in the paving mitts is listed. It's Twist Fiber Studio Pisgah Fingering. And the colorway is called Ooh Girl.
Yes.
And it's nice. I like it.
Yeah.
So that's That's something new since last time.
Mm-hmm.
And then what else? Oh, I know what else I wanted to mention that I finished is remember I was talking last time about the green cotton that I was spinning.
Mm-hmm.
So I finished 2 bobbins and plied them. And when I was done plying them, I just got distracted by doves in the backyard. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm in the trailer, so I'm out in the fresh air away from the potentially infected person in my house. So I finished spinning the skein of cotton, and when I got to the end of plying the green cotton, I had, I think, like 5 yards left on one of the bobbins. That never happens.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
And I wasn't even weighing the fiber or anything. I was just, spinning until it looked like the bobbin was full. And I was like within 5 yards of having them be totally equal in length. So I thought, oh, this is really good. I used the leftover 5 yards as like a sample to keep have information about what the color was before I boiled it. And also to tie off my skein. So I cleared my bobbins. So now I wasn't going to consider that finished because I was going to finish the whole half pound or try. But now, for right now, I'm just considering it finished. I'm just going to take a break from spinning cotton. But I wanted to mention that I boiled the yarn. And it turned out really pretty. It's like a army green color. Okay. And the original roving was more like Chino's khaki. Like, like that Chino's khaki color.
Right.
And the boiled yarn and I used, I didn't have washing soda, so I used baking soda. I used about 3/4 of a cup of baking soda in a big, like, soup stock pot of water to boil it, and a little bit of dish soap, and again the water came out like tea at the end. Really, a lot of whatever was taken off, like there's a waxy residue on cotton, I read, so that may be what came off of it.
I have a question. What is washing soda?
It's like baking soda. I'm not exactly sure what the difference is, but you put it in your laundry to help the water be more slippery. Okay. And help the soap be more, not like with hard water. You would use it with hard water, like what we have.
Oh, here. I'm just, You're Googling. I'm just taking a moment. I'm Googling it just for one moment here. Just a quick thing. It says the difference between baking soda and washing soda is water and carbon dioxide. Washing soda's chemical makeup is 2 sodium, 1 carbon, and 3 oxygen. When baking soda is heated up to high temperatures, it breaks down to become washing soda. Okay. That's all it says. Let me just click on it and see.
It makes the water more basic. That's what I know for why I use it for the cotton.
Oh, all you need to do to turn ordinary baking soda into washing soda is to pour baking soda in a wide baking dish and bake at 400 degrees Fahrenheit until it loses its luster and becomes a little grainy.
Huh. I wonder what the difference in the properties, like why washing soda, why you would want to. Like, couldn't you just use baking soda in your laundry?
Right. So we're not prepared to talk about this. This is bad podcasting. We should have done it just came up in conversation, and now I'm not really prepared. So let's I don't want to take time now, but what we'll do is we'll find a link and we can put it in the show notes.
That's a good idea.
To when we get some information about what the difference is.
That'll be interesting. My main purpose when you're washing cotton, finishing cotton, is to make the water more basic, to change the pH of the water. And the change in pH, that I think it's higher pH is more basic and lower pH is more acid. So you want the more basic pH for to deepen the color of the cotton. And the color is significantly deeper.
So I'm going to now ask another question that we're not prepared to answer, but we need. But there should be. This could be a topic of a conversation. So by washing it, you change the pH of the water, which changes the color of the cotton. Mm-hmm. If you were to put something else into it, would it change the color another way? Not like a dye, but when we were dyeing wool with the natural dyes, if you use different mordants. Like we used ammonia, and you got different colors. I'm wondering, do you know what I'm asking?
Yeah, I sort of, yes. The ammonia would be kind of a similar thing. I think the ammonia would be a similar thing to using the washing soda to change the pH. Okay. But I don't know. I don't think that if I used a more acid pH, if I get a different color than the original. Okay. I think it takes, for cotton, I think it takes the basic pH, the more basic pH to elicit the color changes. I don't think you get different color changes with an acid pH.
Okay. Or any, so I guess let's just put it out there too, if a listener has the answer. Because I understand natural dyes. I am not an expert in natural dyes at all. And I know this is not dyeing what we're talking about, but it is about the chemical makeup of, it's about chemicals and how chemicals are interacting. And is there a way to get subtle changes in the cotton depending on what's in the water in terms of...
Yeah, that's an interesting idea to explore.
And then, the other thing I was going to ask too, because... we have talked about, I did not realize that there were different colors of cotton. I always just thought cotton was white. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that there's green cotton and
brown.
Brown.
And I actually bought cotton lint from the from Sally Fox's breeding program. I don't think I mentioned this in the last episode. It's not roving. It's just, it's like it's off of the seed. Okay. But it's not processed into roving. And so I bought 2 1-ounce bags. One of them is green cotton, and it's much more green than the green that I had in my stash. Mm-hmm. And one of them is red, and it's a rust color. It's really pretty. And so then I have the brown. I have brown in roving. I have green in roving, and now I have green that's just in the lint. The fiber, loose fiber, and red. So I actually added to my cotton stash last week after we talked on the podcast about how much cotton I had.
So clearly we need to do a little bit more research and we can talk about this in another podcast. But I think it's kind of interesting to learn also just how many colors of cotton are there.
Yeah. Well, and apparently there's always been these different colors of cotton growing in, at least in Peru, probably other places in South America as well. Mm-hmm. And they've known about this property of bringing out the color, deepening the color, so that you can have a variety. So you could have whatever the red does when you boil it in a basic solution, and then the red as it comes right off the plant. Mm-hmm. And then you have this different shades of green depending on how you... And so instead of dyeing, their traditional cotton spinning was done in different colors, but not dyed, just the natural colors and what you can get by, doing these different... boiling it in these different solutions or not. Okay. So anyway, I'll look up some links, and then if people have other information about this and know more about it, let us know.
Yeah, post something in this thread that we'll post for as we always post for the episode. Yeah. So more to talk about on that. So is that it for you projects or something else?
One more thing, and that's my combo spin that I started. So I started 2 new things this week. It's Lincoln Roving that I got from Janai. She had a spinning wheel and some roving at the Retzloff Winery a few years ago now, I guess. And the Lincoln roving, I think she had used all she was going to use of it. And so she asked me if I wanted it. So I have had this Lincoln roving for a while. It's pin drafted, which means it's gone an extra step in the process to make it more like top, and the fibers are more aligned. It's also thinner. The roving is thinner. So anyway, I have done some dyeing of that. And I think you dyed some for me too while you were here. We did a couple of pans. And then I just, because it's a natural gray color. And so we dyed it and, did like, what do they call that? Space dyeing? Where you dye sections of it. Yeah. And so I've had that sitting around for a while and divided it all up because my plan is to use it for a combo spin for rug yarn. So I added a little more that I had dyed, added some of the natural gray roving that I didn't dye at all, a little bit of that, and fluffed it all around and tossed it around till it was all mixed. And now I've started spinning. So I've got one box. I have it in boxes because there's a lot of it. One box is spun. That gave me a bobbin and maybe 3/4. Now I'm starting on the second box and I'm going to make a 2-ply. Okay. So I think I see the appeal of a combo spin. I thought last night, I kind of want to just stay up late. It was getting dark in the sunroom. And I thought, I kind of want to just bring the lamp in here and stay up late and finish spinning this. And then I didn't. I ended up going to bed. But so I'm like, I want to keep going.
It's very intriguing and a little addictive, and you just want to keep seeing how it's going to keep turning out. And it's fun, like the combo spins I've done is I've used different fibers too. So wool and alpaca and silk, I just throw it all in there, and it's just fun to keep. Every time you're spinning with something different, it keeps rotating.
We had a question in the thread. She had many different types of fiber that she was thinking about putting in a combo spin, and did that have an impact on the yarn? And there was somebody who said no, and I just it just made me think of it. So you didn't really notice in your yarn that you came across sections of the yarn that were wildly different than other sections of the yarn? Because
when I was knitting with the yarn, not wildly different. So it's not like not wildly different, but so I had sections with silk, right? And so that has a sheen to it. So I would say when you look at the finished garment, you have little bits of gloss in it. I'm not going to say sparkle, like it's not in your face, right? But you'd have to look at it really close up. But it does. I think it adds more interest and more character. But it's not like because depending on if it's a 3-ply, you reduce the chances of having silk on silk, right? So you would never. It's I don't think I ever came to a section where I had all 3 singles were silk together. You're always going to have a wool or one of those other fibers in there. And I would think too, and again, Kelly, you more are the expert of this, but if you start, if you did 100% wool, you're going to have a fiber that perhaps is more springy. But then as you start adding in something that doesn't have a lot of spring to it, you're going to get a bit drapier fabric, right? So you start adding silk into it and you start adding alpaca. Right. But it's all blended together. So it's not like you will have one section, a huge pool of drapey and a whole pool of springy.
Yeah. Like a whole patch of your sweater is not going to turn out to be.
Yeah, it's all drapey and it's hanging down.
Right. Yeah.
That would have to be very intentional, and I don't even know how you would do that. But it is true. Like if you start blending in silk and drapey things that don't have spring, it is going to make your fabric a little bit drapier, right? Less springy, right? And
overall, you're not going to see it in patches.
I say throw it all in there. The only thing I've not thrown in is like cotton. But
I wouldn't like this Lincoln is really long staple. The staple length is like 6 inches on average. When I pulled it apart and just looked at the hairs, they're like 6 plus inches long. So I would say on average the staple length is about 6 inches, and so spinning something that long is very different than spinning just a regular 2-3 inch staple length fiber. And so I'm having to concentrate on keeping my hands, especially after spinning all that cotton. I'm really having to concentrate on keeping my hands separated enough that I'm not pulling on both ends of the same fiber.
Right. And that it is true with a combo spin. The singles, you have to keep modifying your spinning as you go along if you're spinning all these different fibers.
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw out there too, and I think people understand this, but you have to be a little conscious of your fibers, what you're putting together. So I would never add Navajo churro.
Right. Well, the same thing with the Lincoln. It's because it's so itchy that even very little, when mixed with a merino or super. I mean, you would waste the softness by putting in even a tiny bit of this Lincoln. I mean, it's rug yarn. You don't. Yeah, but then you don't want that in your sweater.
But then to go to the other extreme, then it's like, okay, well then do a combo spin of long wools and your churro and everything, and then you make a rug out of it. But don't waste your silk and your merino and your cashmere on that.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's been fun to do. I'm eager to ply on it more today. I think I can finish one bobbin of the second box today, and so I can ply a bobbin from the first box with a bobbin from the second box. Yeah, I'm enjoying it, and I will post pictures soon. As soon as I get, I posted pictures of the singles, but I'm really eager to see what these plied yarn is going to look like.
So let me talk about my projects.
Yeah. Your non-deck projects.
My non-deck project, yeah. So as we're sitting here, I am knitting on Summer Fjord by Trin-Annelie. And just to remind people, I'm using the Quince & Co. Sparrow. I'm using 3 colors. And Kelly, I'm on my last row before I start the ribbing.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yes, very exciting. So last night, I thought I'm close, but it was too bunched up on the needles. I couldn't really measure it very well. So I put it on different needles. I have those, the interchangeable needles, and you can actually there's like a little piece that you can attach 2 cables together and make it longer. So I did that, but I didn't use quite a long enough one. So I was able to measure it, with a tape measure, but I couldn't try it on. So I ended up having to redo it all again and put it on an even longer cable so I could actually pull it over my head and try it on. And I decided that it was, even though it didn't match the length that they are telling you to make it in the pattern, if I had continued, I think it would have been too long, and it would have been more of a tunic, and I wanted more of a t-shirt. Mm-hmm. So I've now, it's like I'm getting to the end of this. What they're saying is if you do stop in the, to shorten it, where to make that break. So I just had to do maybe 4 more rows of the main body color at that break, and now I can start the ribbing, which is, if that makes sense, what I'm doing. The other thing I'm going to say about this pattern, like all patterns, they tell you, to knit the body, then you go back and you do the sleeves, and then you go back and you do the collar, the neckband. That never really makes sense to me. I really think before you finish the body or the sleeves, you need to finish the neckband first, because that's going to determine how it does affect the length of the body, and it does affect the length of the sleeves.
Yeah, we should call that Marsha's rule.
Marsha's rule. I think for new knitters, that's a tip. You have to follow the pattern, but you don't always have to follow the pattern exactly. Right. And so just because they're telling you to do these things in that order, I don't think you need to do them in that order. Mm-hmm. So, and it makes a difference, because when I tried the pattern on, when I tried the sweater on, before I did the neckline, the length was different. Yeah. And the sleeves were different. Then when I finished the neckline, I tried it on again. It made a big difference.
Well, and that neckline is so wide.
It's, yeah.
That
Yeah. So anyway, that's just something I just want to put out there. Just a reminder to people is follow the pattern, but you don't always have to follow the pattern. And you know what I mean. Anyway,
yes.
Okay.
Marsha's rule is don't make decisions about the length of the body or your sleeves until you have your neckline on.
Yeah.
Right?
I also think too, you can knit your sleeves, but don't knit them all the way down to the cuff until you finish the neckline. Just put them on, hold, finish that neckline, and then then continue knitting your sleeves. That's another thing. So anyway, but I really like it. I love the colors. The main color is a blue, kind of like robin's egg blue, kind of, and then a white and a gold stripes.
Yeah, the colors are nice. You chose nice colors.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to be much happier with this one, the fact that it's going to be a little bit shorter. The other one that I made out of, also out of a linen, I'm considering actually ripping it out, frogging it and making something else, or if not frogging the whole thing, just frogging it back to make it shorter. I've never worn it because it feels too, I should also say too, I was doing a different weight yarn. So that was different. That is not a huge issue because it wasn't that significantly different. This is lace weight, and I don't remember now what I used. The other difference is I didn't read the pattern all the way through. So even though I was just telling people you don't have to follow the pattern exactly, you should read the pattern all the way through.
You have to be careful. Yeah.
You have to be careful, and you have to read the pattern all the way through and also figure out, so I made a mistake. I was going the total number of stitches in the yoke, not realizing that the sleeves are the beginning of the sleeves where it's attached to the body is actually shaped a little bit by decreases. So you remove about 24 stitches, which makes a big difference in how it's going to fit in the body if you didn't account for that. So it does not fit very well. It feels very sort of, it's very A-line. And so, it's too full around the hips, too tight through the bust, too full through the hips, because I kept adding stitches to make it fit better. And then it's too long, so it feels very sloppy. And again, it's not the designer and it's not the pattern. It was the me not reading through and just thinking, oh, this will be okay. I'll just keep knitting. So
that's another one of those rules. Whenever you say to yourself, this will be okay, I'll just keep knitting, that means immediately stop.
Yes.
Put the project away and don't work on it anymore until you've made a decision, which the decision probably is it's not okay.
Yeah.
And you should not keep knitting.
Last time I made it, because of all the things I just described, what you're supposed to do is the sleeves, you don't pick up stitches and do stockinette down for it and then do ribbing. You just pick up stitches and do ribbing. And it's kind of like a drop sleeve. But because of everything that I just described about the first one I made, they don't drop down very far. And so they're more like cap sleeves the way it fits. And I don't like that. I think, and so this version that I'm making, I always intended to pick up stitches and knit down a little bit in stockinette before I did the ribbing. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that now because of the way it fits. It does drop down a bit more. So I'm on the fence about that. I'll report in 2 weeks what I decide to do.
Okay.
But anyway, okay.
All right.
But the other project I've been working on is because we have our summer spin-in going on. I've been spinning as well, and I talked about what I had spun last week, and that I was preparing to spin my next project. And I actually have a skein of yarn already. So what I'm doing is I have 8 ounces of Huckleberry Knits, Targhee bamboo and silk, and 4 ounces of Sauked in Farms 50/50 alpaca and Babydoll Southdown Wool. And so what I'm doing is and it's in a kind of a teal an aqua color, I would say. And then the Targhee bamboo and silk is multicolored, and there's a little bit of that aqua in there and kind of a yellow. There's some charcoal gray in there, some brown, Kelly, you saw it. I can't remember, and I don't have it here in front of me.
Yeah.
Now I remember all the colors are in it. Some natural color in there.
It's really pretty.
It's very pretty.
And colorful. I mean, it looks, I'm not going to say it's rainbow, but it looks like there's almost every color is in there.
Yeah.
I'm sure that that's not the case, but it is very multicolored.
Yeah, very multicolored. And so my plan was, and this is still my plan, but this is how it's working. It was how it's working. My plan was to spin, I have 4 braids. And so my idea with each braid, this was my plan, is to split them into 3 long lengths. When I split them, it ended up being like in half. So one half was thick, and then the other half I split into 2. So it was kind of like a half and a quarter. And I decided to spin the half as 1 bobbin, and it fit on there, 1 bobbin, and then the other 2 quarters to spin as 1 bobbin. And my thinking, and I don't know if I'm right on this thinking or not, Kelly, but my thinking was that thicker braid, I was going to get very long color repeats. Yeah. The 2 thinner braids, end on end would then make shorter color repeats because there's just less less fiber in there. That was sort of my idea.
That's what people call a fractal spin.
Okay. And then my 3rd bobbin, because I was going to make a 3-ply, was then going to be that aqua color. And that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
And so I kind of thought, well, if I do that, then my multicolored braid, the colors, at some point you're going to have 2 singles the same color, but it will vary because you're going to have shorter sections of those. One bobbin is going to be shorter sections and one will be longer. I don't know if that's working out or not. As I was plying, it seemed like I had long sections where it was the two colors together. But it's beautiful. The color is gorgeous. I love the aqua, how it kind of blends everything together. So when you look at the skein, it doesn't look like aqua, but it has this. I think it's a really nice way of tying all the colors together. I am going to have, though, when I actually knit with it, I am going to have long color repeats. So, if I was just to knit, a tube or something, I am going to have stripes. Yeah. And so I haven't even gotten to the point where I'm going to think about how I'm going to use this, what I'm going to make out of it. But it's something to either make that work for me or break it up and alternate skeins or alternate 3 skeins or something if I don't want to have all that color repeat going on or those striping, or do you know what I'm saying? Break it up or play up on, just let it be stripes,
Let it stripe, yeah. I think it will be really interesting. And I don't know what you're going to make with it.
Yeah, I don't either.
I know I mentioned a vest because I really like my mealy vest and I want to make another one of those. But I don't know that you wear vests very much. I do a lot.
Well, I don't because I don't have any. But I've been looking at vest patterns because I was actually thinking about this. I have 12 ounces. And based on my weight, and I know you lose some, but just based on the weight and how it's, what am I trying to say? The skein that I spun, based on the weight of it and the yardage, I think if I extrapolate that out over all of the fiber I have, I think I'll end up with about 1,000 yards of about DK weight. I maybe worsted. I think it's about DK weight. I could probably make a vest out of that. Yeah, and if that's the case, it might be nice to just make it striped. Yeah, because you don't have to worry about the sleeves will look different. Right, they're a different diameter or a different circumference. Because on the 2 combo spin sweaters that I made, I did not alternate the skeins on the body, but when I got to the sleeves, I had to alternate the skeins. Yeah. Otherwise, it was too the blocky stripes kind of. It didn't match. So so I'm thinking of a vest out of this. Very cool. So I'm really enjoying spinning it. And what I wanted to say too, I put a note here to myself, be sure and thank our listener who suggested the summer spin-in. because I've so enjoyed spinning. I find find spinning to be so meditative and relaxing and kind of soothing, you know. It's just it's been really. This has been a great experience. The spinning part, really have enjoyed it. So I'm sure I'll finish this before we next record, probably. But I'm thinking of my next project. And I'm now back, Kelly, to cotton. Oh, we just had this whole cotton discussion. So I had mentioned, I think when you were talking about your cotton in the last episode, I believe I bought this the first time I went to the Black Sheep Gathering at that time it was in Eugene, Oregon. And I was so excited about spinning. And I bought a fleece and I bought alpaca. Anyway, I bought just a ball of cotton roving. And it's fox fiber, Reese Limited. It's
Yeah, that's Sally Fox.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's spelled VRESEIS Limited. And anyway, I have 1.8 ounces, so just shy of 2 ounces of cotton.
Nice.
And it's, so what do I need to know about spinning this? I just opened up the package. I was looking at it, and the staple is like an inch long, if I'm being generous.
Yeah, it's very short staple. I mean, that's the nature of cotton. Mm-hmm. So I would say to put your take up as light as you possibly can go.
Okay.
You want a little bit. I mean, you want just enough so that when you pull your hand back, mm-hmm. you don't just pull all the yarn back out.
Right.
Right. You want just barely. Mm-hmm. So you have some resistance.
Okay.
And then you don't hold on tightly. The way it was described to me is you hold it like you're holding a butterfly.
Okay.
And you just pull and you treadle a lot. You don't have a lace flyer.
But I have there's the whirl. There's the three settings.
Put it on the smallest one.
Okay.
So you're going fast.
Mm-hmm.
You're on the fastest possible speed.
Mm-hmm.
And just I would say pull your hand back slowly, but pull your hand back against the twist. Let the twist come into your fiber supply. Mm-hmm. So for me, that's in my left hand. And I pull my hand back and then, treadle. Mm-hmm. And you can see that it'll be kind of lumpy. And then I'll take my right hand and I'll pinch a little bit. Mm-hmm. to stop any more twist from coming in. Mm-hmm. And I'll pull a little tiny bit more, which in a lot of cases, not always, but will pull out the rest of the lumps.
Okay.
Like any big lumps that don't have enough twist in them will kind of pull out a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And then once you do that, then let go with your right hand. For me, that's my right hand is the one that is kind of controlling things that so let go with your right hand and then just treadle a bunch more and then let it in. Mm-hmm. And I'm my hands are moving and my foot is treadling and my head's going up and down as I say this. You can't see it at all, but that's what I would suggest because you need more twist than you think. Mm-hmm. So do extra treadles before you actually let it go onto the bobbin. Okay,
do more twisting than I think I need. Put more twist in than I think I need, more treadling mm-hmm. than I think I need.
Yeah.
Because I full disclosure, I've never used the smallest whirl. Okay. I've always stayed in the middle one. So this is going to be good practice. This will be good, yeah.
Yeah, and that will mean, too, since you don't usually use the smallest one, that you'll automatically get more twist mm-hmm. and then put in even that much more twist.
Okay.
Because I will often use that smallest whirl, and then I just don't treadle as much if I don't need to. Mm-hmm. But if you never use it, then you'll be getting the full advantage of that speed.
Okay.
So that's what I would say. And as much as you can, don't use your other hand. When I first learned spinning cotton and I was practicing, the other tip that I got, besides holding it in your hand like it's a butterfly, mm-hmm. was to practice only using one hand. And the way I practiced doing that and not fiddling with it with my other hand, trying to control the twist or pinch and pull, inchworm, short forward draft or short backward draft, not doing that kind of drafting, was I made myself a cup of tea.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And I had the cup of tea in my right hand. And I was spinning with I was like, okay, I if I hold this cup of tea in my right hand, I can't use it. So that was the other thing that
maybe in my right hand I need to hold an actual butterfly.
Yeah. I do use my right hand now when I'm spinning cotton, but mostly I use it to pinch when I see lumps, pinch. I twist. Sometimes I twist backwards a little bit, to untwist a little.
Right.
The stuff that's between my right hand and my left hand, and then pull out the lumps.
Okay.
And you won't be able to pull out all the lumps when you first start, and you shouldn't try.
Okay.
I mean, you just,
This just, I'm not making anything out of it. I'm just spinning this. So.
Right. And Sally Fox has lots more cotton.
Yeah, really. there's more cotton in the world.
Your friend Kelly has lots more cotton. I could send you.
Yes, you can send me some. And the other question I wanted to ask too is, what do you call the little yarn that you put on the bobbin that you would then attach to
leader.
The leader? Thank you. That can be any fiber. That can be wool, because I just have wool leaders on there. I can use wool. Or do I need to have cotton?
Actually, even when I'm spinning wool, my best bobbins are the ones. I took a class from Patsy Z. Mm-hmm. I don't remember what her last name is, but it starts with a Z, and she has a website, Patsy Z. And she had us make crochet cotton leaders for all the bobbins that we had with us that we were going to be spinning on. And that works really well. And then I have a loop at one end. Mm-hmm. So it's tied around my bobbin on one end. And on the other end, there's a loop in it. Mm-hmm. And then you can put and she suggests putting your fiber through the loop.
Okay.
And then when you spin, right, the ply twist, the twist plies that loop and it secures the fiber in there.
Okay.
I was always just in the habit of using wool, and the wool sticks to the wool, and it works great. But spinning cotton, I think that would be a very helpful thing.
Okay.
That'd be a very helpful thing to have. Yeah. It's difficult to get started. It's frustrating at first. Mm-hmm. It's difficult to get started. Let your first batch that gets wound onto the bobbin be as lumpy as it needs to be to get going.
Okay.
And then from there, worry about your technique.
Okay.
But it will often take me several tries before I'll be able to actually get it twisted the right amount to actually be able to wind onto the bobbin without drifting apart. And, make that whole starting process work.
Okay. Well, hopefully I can figure it out, because I have just shy of 2 ounces. So hopefully I can figure it out before I get through.
No, it's 2 ounces.
It's
will be a lot.
Okay.
Because you'll probably be spinning really thin.
Okay.
I mean, I think you'll be surprised at how thin it will be if you're not pinching and pulling. If you're just letting it pull out from your hand, and you have the right amount of tension, I think you'll be surprised how thin it goes.
Okay. All right. I will report in. Hopefully, I don't know if I'll get to it before we next record, but I'll try.
So sometime before the end of the spinning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I'll report in. So, and I'm assuming the same way you break off a piece and pre-draft it.
That's an interesting thing about cotton. I don't know that you need to pre-draft it.
Okay.
You can see how it feels, but try it both directions, because cotton actually has a direction that it wants to be spun.
Oh, and how do you know?
You'll be able to tell.
Oh.
It'll be clear. Like if it's coming out in, I don't know if it'll be clear if you're just a beginner. But as you're spinning, if you notice it's coming out in like blob, 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 then turn it around and try it the other way, and it will probably come out more smoothly.
Okay.
So I would say just test both and see which one feels better.
Okay.
But it's a noticeable difference with cotton. which direction it wants to be spun from the roving. And then once you know which direction it wants to be spun, it's either, always spin it from the side of the roving that's coming off the ball, or always spin it from the side of the roving that you just broke off.
Okay.
I don't understand why, but it's an interesting thing about cotton. Because wool even has scales, and you don't really...
Plant fiber as opposed to an animal.
Yeah. I know when I was taking the long wool class, Stephanie Gassett, she did say that you can tell spinning from the tip or spinning from the butt of the long wool when you comb it. And I tried it, and it was like, marginal, tiny little marginal difference maybe if I pretended I could tell. But with cotton, it's like, wait, this is wrong. I have to turn this around.
Okay.
So that's kind of a cool thing to know.
Well, I'll report in.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
So that's it for me with projects. So let's do anything else you want to say about projects, or because we have a little housekeeping now?
Yeah, let's go on to our housekeeping.
Well, since we've been talking about spinning, let's do our next housekeeping thing is the summer spin-in. And that started on May 25th, and it will continue through Labor Day weekend, which is a holiday here in the U.S., but that is September 7th. And we have a chat thread where you can show your finished objects. Let me see, I'm saying that the wrong way. We have a chat thread where you can discuss your spinning. We also have a thread where you can post your finished objects for the prize that we're going to give away.
Yeah. Actually, there's two. There's one for skein, finished spinning projects, and one for projects where you've actually made something out of your yarn. Yes.
And just a reminder, you don't have to be a spinner and spin something. You can also knit something with hand spun. So I'm excited about this, and I'm really having fun. As I said, I'm thoroughly enjoying this, the spinning. Kelly, we need to just mention to remind Patreon appreciation. We talked about this in the last episode, I believe. Should we just touch on that again too?
Sure.
What we're doing?
Yeah. I've had more people contact me now. I think people are, they get a week or two behind in the show, or maybe an episode or two, or maybe even 4 or 5. But if you're a Patreon patron, in the month of June, all the people who have been patrons through the month of June are getting a free Ravelry download pattern of their choice up to $7. So just contact me and I will get you your pattern.
Yes.
It's been fun to see the patterns that people are selecting.
Yeah.
I've put some stuff in my queue.
Yeah. So any more business we need to take care of?
Well, I just wanted to thank some people for reviews that we've gotten recently. We had Caro Trique has left us a message, a review on Podbean. She says, please consider this a 5-star review. She emailed me to make sure that I saw it, because I think I've talked about how I'm not always able to see the Podbean reviews easily. But anyway, she lives in Southwest England, and she said today we were the sunshine that their weather lacked.
Oh,
so I thought that was really
sweet.
Nice. Yeah. And then we've also had reviews from Nitty Val and Aural Ellen and Grable and Winifred 5 and someone else who I could not see their Apple ID, but she said she likes to listen to us laugh and giggle and vent about life and Mother Nature. So thank you, everyone, for your
very
reviews.
nice.
That's really kind. Yeah.
Okay.
It's great to get that feedback.
Yeah. As you know, I record here in my room, and Enzo's usually he's been passed out on the bed. Just so you know, new listeners, Enzo is a dog. And he's been sleeping, but now he's up and he's actually standing at the door. He wants to go out. Oh. So I'm gonna say goodbye and take him out for a walk. Oh, okay, now he's scratching at the door. Maybe you can hear that. So I'm being told it's time to get off the.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm going to have to do that too, because
you have to go sanitize.
Not quite. Well, I have to do that. I have to go sanitize the kitchen, and then I have to get out. I'm almost to 100 miles on my virtual walk up California. So maybe I'll get to 100 miles today.
I need to go, but because I meant to ask you about that. So note to self, let's put in the show notes for next week that we need to talk about your virtual walk.
Oh, okay.
And talk about it. Yeah. So that'll be a cliffhanger for 2 weeks. Yes. We'll talk about that. I meant to ask you about that, and we got so caught up in cotton and spinning that I forgot.
Cotton and COVID.
Yeah, cotton and COVID. Yeah, that's the name of our episode. We've got it right. Okay, Kelly. We'll talk in 2 weeks.
All right. Okay.
Alrighty. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2usfiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2 U's
doing our part for World Fleece.